All right, Brett, I'm going to pass it to you.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Scott. Well, we've got a wonderful guest, a dear friend of mine. I'll introduce in a minute. We also have another guest who sat right next to me, which is one of my daughters, Amani. So she's visiting me from the UK and England. We've been out exploring the beautiful lands of the Galloway Forest in Scotland National Park today. And it turns out she's turned up on a podcast where we're going to be speaking about supernatural, paranormal, and she's paranormal mad on that side. So very useful because I'm not so into it. Anything you want to say, Amani, before I pass over?
No, I just wanted to say hello and I'm happy to be here.
Oh, lovely. So, I'll introduce you now to many of you who know from the creator of the Cosmic Community, dear friend of mine, a lovely guy and a fellow Rambler, David Campbell. Please take it over.
Hi there, everybody. Yes, it says Joshua Macbeth on there. That's I'm using someone else's computer, so just for the record, I'm not Joshua Macbeth. I'm David Campbell. So a lot of you guys probably already know me from the Cosmic Community on Facebook. So yeah, it's just really nice to collaborate with you guys again and go into some interesting topics we have for today regarding the paranormal and the Earth grid, the cube matrix, and some other fun stuff. So it's going to be pretty fun.
Yeah, so why don't we start diving into the cube matrix? I know there's going to be, a lot of questions surrounding what is the cube matrix. And Jackie had a question for you.
Yeah, so for those of us who don't know, can you explain your perspective of what the cube matrix is?
So you're asking me?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Give us your perspective on the cube matrix, because we know there's a mathematical side of the cube matrix, and then there's also a sci-fi, several different ways of a cube matrix. So yeah, why don't you give us a little insight on that from your perspective?
So from what I understand, the cube matrix is an artificial reality it's a Draco created system that is manifested on Saturn. And basically there is a gigantic vortex, or like a hexagon, at Saturn's North Pole. I've heard from many people like Brian saying that it's composed of black goo. And what it does is it keeps humans and probably all sorts of different life in the solar system and locked into a limited frequency band. This frequency band has been in operation for, supposedly thousands of years. It's an artificial creation. The moon serves a lot of purposes, but from my understanding and from what I've heard from David Icke, is that it amplifies this frequency from Saturn, beams it down on Earth, and it keeps us in this low vibrational state. So I guess that, the next question is, how do we escape the cube matrix? I don't think there's really, I think the times that we're living in right now, it's all for experience. When we pass on into the higher dimensions, we ascend into the higher Earth grid. And I actually had a supernatural experience about a month ago where I was communicating with some dead loved one, and she told me all about what it's like in this higher reality. And he showed a picture of it. It's kind of similar to the cube matrix that we're in right now, kind of similar to what they talk about it in Star Trek with the Borg, with that big cube. Another place also is Revelation, but it's not really the dark cube, it's the golden cube. And that's an actual reality that we're able to ascend to. I know in Revelation it calls it New Jerusalem, and it talks about the different gates, or the star gates. So that to me sounds like it's a reality that we're able to access through our chakras, and the reality exists right over in the new Earth. And Revelation chapter 21 talks a lot about that. But I mean, that's kind of the cube matrix in a nutshell. It's, you know, it's we can't really do much about it right now because we're trapped in this matrix. Revival of Wisdom videos that I've shared a lot talks about it. If you take the cross and then you fold it up, it's a cube shape. So that's another, you know, indication that we're living in the matrix. Also, cubes denote masculinity because they're lines, while you have curves represent femininity. And that's kind of what Leonardo da Vinci was talking about when he did the picture of the Vitruvian Man.
Yeah, I know that they talk
Fantastic,
about.
David. I love that. Just
Go
one
ahead.
little thing I'll add to that is, you know, it's like I totally agree with this matrix system coming from Saturn. There's something going on, and it's to do with frequencies, and it's keeping us trapped at a certain resonant field, and we can't go beyond that. But also, there are positive sides to it because it cuts us off on the outside and the higher realms. And even in some of the higher realms, there are negative, or we may perceive as negative or low frequential beings. We call them low frequential, but they are in different realms. So it does block this off. And like David said it perfectly, you know, we've come here for experience, and that experience is to be shut off from this, to be shut off from the higher realms. And we go into duality and I awareness and single, you know, I'm a single being, and we're cut off from the unity. And I would say what you're saying about the golden cube as well, that's like a new age. I would say we're heading into the golden matrix. The golden cube is coming, and that's part of the ascension. It's being cut off. It's forgetting what you are. It's coming here for these spiritual and soul lessons, for this experience of this crazy planet called Earth. And then now we're coming to the point where we're starting to remember again, and then together as a collective, the ones that are ready are going to ascend to a new realm, a new Earth. Some people call it 5D, some people call it ascension, you know, and I feel this time is happening. So I just thought that was fantastic, David. So thank you for that. Scotty?
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, because there's a lot of talk about that, you know, the cube matrix could be a prison. You talk about the cube matrix could be AI, and it's and then, you know, you have mathematics where, you know, A times A times A creates this cube matrix, and after it just keeps continuing and duplicating itself, next thing you know, you have this block of information, a cube matrix. And yeah, so there's a lot of different, you know, views and perspectives on the cube matrix. So yeah, it was awesome to have you explain some of that. So we're going to go ahead and go into the next question. I think this next question is for Brett.
Yeah, Brett, before we get too far into it, can you give us an overview of the difference between dimensions, densities, and realms? Because people really get lost in the words.
Yeah, that's a brilliant question, actually, and quite interesting, because I think a lot of times some people get density and dimensions certainly mixed up. A realm is like a field all of its own of information stored in beside it, and sometimes realms overlap. You could class these as densities. So a dimension would be a location. You can calculate it. You can pinpoint it and calculate it. Even in higher dimensions, we can mathematically calculate dimensions. So densities, you can't. Densities is like a certain vibration or certain frequency or resonant field. Then you can change into densities, higher, lower, lower. And you could have, so let's say we're in third density at the moment on Earth, and we're also in the third dimension. Then let's say you're in the fourth dimension, fifth dimension. You could have third density existing in a different dimension, but the dimension you can calculate, pinpoint the exact location of dimensions, where density is more of a state of being or resonant field or frequency. So when you change and you adapt your frequencies, you can shift into higher or perceive higher densities. And it's to do with how things vibrate. The faster vibration and frequency vibrates, higher vibration. You hear people raise your frequency, raise your frequency. The more you can do this, then you can tune into the different densities. And I would say that's happening on the Earth. You know, we certainly see in the sun's giving off these beautiful energies lately. The consciousness is changing. Even the animals are becoming so more than what they were 50, 100 years ago now. You know, the animals are becoming extremely more conscious, but so are the human beings. So we are now moving into a more energetic. So frequencies naturally are vibrating higher. So if you were vibrating at this state and I was vibrating at this, we both are moving faster, which allows us to perceive more of the reality and the densities. So I hope that makes some kind of sense. So basically, a density is a vibrational state of frequency of field that you would have to be in tune to go into. So if you were at a wrong frequency, you could never experience a certain density. We're here on Earth at the moment. We've been in the material world, as David was saying about this matrix cube trapping us off, blocking off the energies. We're at that frequency, so we're trapped in here. Though there are other frequencies and other densities that exist. A lot of people speak of elemental beings, which we hear a lot, and then on Earth and all different kinds of planets. They would be, you could say they're in the third dimension, but they're not in the third density, you know? So I hope that made sense. If it wasn't clear, just fire back any other questions.
No, that was beautiful, bro. And also relating to that, would you guys think that the cube matrix is like a sacred geometry?
You want me? I can say something to that. So
yeah, either one of you.
I did find some information about how, so you can take anything, you can invert it, you can make it positive or negative, and a lot of the elite, they use the cube or the symbol of Saturn, the star, but some call it the Star of David. They use it for negativity. So they, you know, whenever they have like the Super Bowl, you know, Super Bowl is the same word for superb owl, and they use the owl in many different symbolism. The elite do, the Illuminati, they put the owl on the back of our dollar bill. Molech. So I saw a really interesting video about that. The owl represents the darker side, the darker feminine side, because the owls are able to see at nighttime. So that kind of represents illumination. But yeah, it just all depends on what you use the symbols for and what your intent is. You know, it's like it's magic. You can use either magic for good or magic for evil.
Yeah, 100%, David. I totally agree with that. And a lot of people get caught up in these geometries and these patterns that have been used. Sorry, we can't deny they've been used to control, manipulate, and power, to create power or to protect people. But like you say, it's the intention that consciousness and places onto this. You know, a pattern isn't perceivably evil, but it's the intention that I choose and I use and I play on that with certain rituals, maybe with sacrificed blood or other such things that can create this. But it's like the Pentagon. I've heard that can heal, you know. Also, it can, you know, you can summon through it. And maybe you could even summon higher frequency beings for it. Just certain groups, they seem to resonate. That's certainly the cabal kind of groups, these elitists, they certainly seem to resonate on this low frequency and greed, and they're just lost. So yeah, I totally agree with exactly what David was saying. And I think, you know, frequency creates form. Frequency, again, when we see these symbols, these geometries, the Knights Templar cross, it can activate certain things in us, you know. And it's the swastika is like a prime example of this. Joshua, I know he's on the live, we speak about this. That's an ancient Indian, ancient symbol of prosperity, of power, peace. And Hitler took this symbol because he knew the power of it. And now, of course, because the consciousness of Hitler and the Nazi symbol, yeah, it's bad. And we were talking about this the other night, weren't we, actually, funny enough. And on my Ganeshna, I have a swastika on the back of it, and it's an ancient Indian statue, and it's not there. It's there for a beautiful symbol, which has been lost in translation because of what Hitler done, you know. So yeah, awesome, David. Thank you.
Yeah, we got another question for you coming in, David.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Have you touched on it a little bit, but have you discovered any specific patterns or codes within the cube matrix? Like, is it a doorway? Can we access portals through it?
That's a good question. I've actually wondered that myself. When you look at, if you've ever seen pictures of Saturn in the North Pole, it does look like it's a vortex, and I really don't know. It's still a mystery to me, and I'm still figuring out a lot about what it's about. So I'm not by any means an expert. I'm just telling you what I've learned. I have here, so civilizations like Babylonians, and they're, just as a side note, the Babylonian priesthood is still in operation to this day, and they operate under the Vatican. But Babylonians, Romans revered Saturn as a god of time and destruction. Saturn's imagery appears in corporate logos, architecture, and media, often tied to themes of control and power. Some believe Saturn broadcasts a control signal, trapping humanity in a linear timeline and spiritual amnesia. A theory suggests an ancient ruling class manipulates global systems through coded symbolism. So I don't know. It could be some type of a vortex. I don't know. It's compared to the size of the Earth is minuscule to this gigantic vortex that's going on the top of Saturn. And the rings could also have something to do with it too. The rings could be emitting the frequency and keeping us locked into this matrix. But yeah, that's some of the information that I have. If you ever want to look on like Instagram, you could look under the Revival of Wisdom videos. This guy does a lot of he gives a lot of information about the Saturn matrix, and he's actually done a few books about it called the Book of Wisdom. So it's definitely worth checking out. But yeah, I'm still learning all this information myself. I'm by no means an expert at this point.
Yeah,
I mean, the question is,
though,
was this done on purpose or as a negative thing, or did souls in some way choose this experience to forget, for the mission or soul hero's journey to remember? And then maybe the elites were given these clues, but now for their point, now we're heading into ascension where they're not, and that's a reason for them to block and slow this down. But I think it moves in cycles and it moves in ages, and I think that souls purposely came to Earth for this reason, to forget, to come in here, to have soul experience, on a planet of duality and separation. And then the master point of the game of the illusion is to remember what you are, to break free of this, and to ascend, like David said, into the higher realm of Earth. And that would be my thought. That's how I look on it. I don't look on it that this was something we've been captured and put in prison. I think at a soul level we've chosen to come here for this very time, for this very cycle on Earth, which a lot of people say, it takes a strong soul to even want to come and experience this. And people have forgotten how strong they truly and powerful and beautiful, benevolent parts of Source they are. And I think now we're hitting the time where this is happening. Now, does this mean that every single consciousness or human, let's just say earthling, is going to ascend and go? No, there might be ones that might choose different timelines, different paths, but I'm not sure it was done on purpose. I agree with like the mathematics and the theory of that's how it's done through frequency. But I would say that there's a chance that at some, as crazy as that sounds now, and next time I'll certainly double read the contract, that we may have signed up for this. It's an interesting thought or twist to add to it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's really interesting. I definitely, it's the soul contract, and they've talked about that before, where we have an agreement to come down to experience life in duality. That's what our mission is. And I actually, when I had my spiritual awakening back in around 2007, one of the first books that I read by an author called Barbara Marciniak. So she channels a group of beings called the Pleiadians. And I listened to this book called Bringers of the Dawn on audio. And one of the things that the Pleiadians told us in this book was that these times were going to happen. And this was like, mind you, like 16, 17 years ago. And back then, back in 2007, well, let's see, 18 years ago almost. But people didn't know, like, you would talk about chakras with somebody, and they're like, what's a chakra? I don't know what that is. Or you would talk about a reptilian, or you would talk about aliens, and people would like look at you like you're crazy. But now, like, you're seeing it all over the internet. People are starting to wake up to the reality and what's really going on around us. And the Pleiadians said that was going to happen. And technology is one reason for it, because we're able to communicate. 20 years ago, we wouldn't have been able to have a ramble like this because the technology didn't exist. But now we have technology where it's just information is becoming more readily available for the whole world, and people are waking up, and the cabal is losing control over that, and that's pissing them off. So they're trying to think of other ways they could try to dumb us down, but there's no stopping it. It's just we're going to keep on getting more knowledge, and we're going to keep unifying, and you can't control us anymore like this,
Yeah, and the Earth's energies are definitely shifting. I mean, so many people can feel it. You see it on almost like every podcast that, you know, somebody is awake there. You see this field has just been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And like you said, it's closing off that darker state, and they're fleeing and running. And you see more of us, you know, people that you wouldn't think are even open to anything, all of a sudden are coming to us and talking to us about like, oh yeah, you know, I'm feeling this, you know, spiritual connection to things. And like some of my friends that, you know, definitely they're just totally not into, you know, spirituality, not much, you know, definitely not paranormal stuff. And next thing you know, they're just totally, you know, starting to open their hearts and their minds to even alien crafts, because we tell them what we see. And then, you know, I don't care if somebody believes me or not. I saw what I saw. And, you know, to have them start coming to me and saying, you know, oh, you know, I went to Mount Shasta and I had this spiritual awakening again, and I went hiking and I'm just feeling like being out there. I think that veil is actually, yeah, like you guys are talking about, it's shrinking. And like Brett said, it's becoming that golden age, that golden cube, you know, instead of this prison, because you can't hold something in when there's too many of us shedding that light. I think we've broken that veil now. So that was great. I really liked your topic about
it's the consciousness, like the level of consciousness is growing, but yes, it's the awareness that it's expanding. And now, like you say, it's an incredible time now. Like David said, you go back 5-10 years ago. Now it's like if people I couldn't even imagined in my wildest dreams, I'd have said you're mad. It's just not them. They're not into it. Their awareness is expanding now, and they're having these new ideas, and it's quantum leaping, because the more that joins that into the collective consciousness, the more it happens. You know, it's an interesting time for sure. I love that, guys. Wow, that was a wonderful. I really enjoyed that. Cheers.
Yeah, I like bringing up the cube matrix. I thought that would be a great one. When David and I were talking last night about that, I was like, oh yeah, it's a fun topic, because there's so many different things. AI, you have the mathematics part. You have, like David talked about, the Borg. I mean, you have a prison, you have portals. I mean, there's so many different things to go into about the cube matrix. So that was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, David. And I think we're going to roll into maybe some paranormal.
Yeah. So can anyone explain the difference between paranormal and supernatural?
Yes, I can. So the supernatural. So let's say, you know, we're talking about events, you're talking about creatures. Supernatural would be like a fairy. I could take one really easy there. A fairy has magic. A fairy has, you know, powers. It has medicine. But there's no way science can ever prove that a fairy exists. They're not going to come across a fairy. I mean, there's been so much time has happened. But then, so supernatural events are paranormal, but not everything paranormal is supernatural. That's the difference in it.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
So paranormal, like even an alien encounter would be paranormal, because if there's a slight chance, the difference is if there is a slight chance that even in the future, way in the future, if they can figure it out in the future, like a loved one talking to us, voices, you know, you hear these voices, it could be an ancestor. And then you have residual. Residual is just something that's there. This energy has been trapped in this dimension that's there. And for some reason, you can pick up on it. I have an EVP recorder, and unfortunately, you won't be able to hear it, but I'll send it to you guys. So, and then you can listen in closely. You can definitely hear the one that says, "Who's that guy?" But the difference, you know, is even you have science and so forth that talks about Bigfoot. A lot of people say Bigfoot's supernatural because Bigfoot can shapeshift. Bigfoot can teleport. Bigfoot can do all these different things, but then science is trying to prove that Bigfoot is an actual animal, and they want to document it and have it protected even as an actual animal. And so some people are saying Bigfoot's supernatural. Then you have other people saying that Bigfoot is not. So then that leads back to paranormal things and voices. And we know that, you know, David had some really good paranormal things come about with him. So have we, but I figured David might want to share some of those.
Yeah, so I have a few experiences. Let me think. So I'm already I think that I already have a disposition for paranormal activity. I think it may could maybe run in my DNA sequence or whatever. So the first experience I had. Oh, by the way, before I get into this, were you able to show a couple of those pictures we were talking about, Scott? Of the
I'll share some of those. And before we jump right into it, I also wanted to, Jackie had another question about the astral realm for you.
Okay.
Can you guys just explain what the astral realm is and how it ties into the supernatural and paranormal?
So from my understanding, the astral realm is it's not a part of this linear dimension that we're in. It's not. We're in a linear dimension. We have beginning, middle, and end. Time. We're locked into time. In the astral realm, there is no time. Time is infinite. So when we go into our dream, the dream state, that's where we're able to communicate with our loved ones, and that's where, you know, we kind of in essence we kind of die in a way, because we leave our body and we go up into to the astral. And I've had many occurrences where I've seen my mother in the astral, my grandmother, my grandfather, you know, different dead loved ones. But it's not locked into this physical dimension. Like, this is physical. This is actual physical, solid reality that our bodies are in. When we die, it's not even really dying. It's just transitioning. When we transition, we go out of these bodies and we go up into the higher dimensions. That's what Bashar talks a lot about. But we are infinite consciousness. We are infinite awareness. And that's where I believe that this new earth is. And I'll get into that a little bit later when I had my when I had my communication with my. So the individual was actually my mother that I was talking to, and she was talking to me about the new earth, and I was going to actually quote it, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the book of Revelation. It talks about a new heaven and a new earth, and that's where she actually was, and she was talking to. Yeah, so there's the picture. So the earth has layers, and it's multidimensional. So we're on the lowest part, and the higher astral part is way on the upper part. So that's where she was talking to me from, and my guardian angel. If you want to show that animation that I did also of the cube. So let me actually see if I can find that part where it talks about the cube. Are you able to? Sorry. Oh yeah, that was a pretty cool picture. Yeah, of a human. You know, they're kind of ascending out of the Saturn matrix. I kind of thought that was cute, pretty cool. But yeah, just somebody else can talk while I look for something.
Yeah, I'd love to add a little bit to that. I would say that the spiritual astro realm is like Dave said. It's not a physical thing, but it's more fluid. You know, it's a fluid reality. And I would say it's not a dimension, it's non-location. That's the difference. So when you go into this realm, there's not a pinpointed dimension of location of where you're existing. It's fluid, you know, and when we're projected into the material realm, we are in a specific location that we can calculate through mathematics. But this is beyond that. This is and like this picture is fantastic, what's on the screen here, because it shows the fields overlapping, and there is overlap on this. You know, so there is areas and points where we can communicate. And what we're saying here is, and through our dreams, is one gateway into this, which makes so much sense. Is that the only way to do it? No, I would say not. Certain energy centers, ancient temples, stone circles, and these sacred places in the forest, like I've been today, are areas where it's more liable you can communicate with these realms. But I think it's beautiful what you're sharing about your messages with your mother, David, and how she communicated and shared this with you. And if you're ready, mate, carry on.
Yeah. So I can actually Jackie, did you have another question for me, or did that pretty much answer the question? Or
That was perfect.
That was perfect.
Thank you.
okay. Let me see if I can find what I was talking about. Okay, so basically, I had an experience about a month ago, and I was laying in bed, and I had the fan on, and I was in a meditative state, right? And I didn't know what was going on. Like I just started to hear like a faint voice, and the first voice that I heard, it was a familiar voice, but it was basically, he told me he was my guardian angel. And I asked him where he was, and he told me he was on the new earth, on this higher grid, this higher dimensional plane. And I was like, wow, like you're really talking to me right now. And it was funny because he had an actual personality. Like he was talking, he was telling me that he was so excited that there was an open channel of communication. And I was like, I'm excited too. He's like, can you not interrupt me? I'm trying to talk. I was like, okay. He's like, I'm sorry. I'm just really excited to actually be talking to you right now. You know, this is kind of a rarity for me to be able to communicate directly with you. But he was telling me what he was wearing. You know, I was like, so what do you look like? And he said he was tall, blonde. You know, you can look any way you want to in the higher dimensions. And then he kept going on. He was like, you could be this, you could be that, you could be a cat, you could be a dog, you could be a flower, you could be that. And I was like, how long is he going to go on about talking about all the different things you can be? You know, and that's where he kind of got a little like, yeah, like kind of like that, like Ashtar. And I was like, so what are you wearing? And he was like, I'm wearing a silver jacket and silver pants. And I'm like, so what does it look like where you are? He's like, well, it's sunny. The sun is out right now. I'm in a field, and I'm gonna go hiking with a friend soon. And he told me that, and sorry, my cat's active. So yeah, and we were just talking. This correspondence went on for like at least 45 minutes or so, and the interesting thing about it was I couldn't hear him with the fan off. I had to turn the fan on, so there had to be some type of a sound transmission to transmit the frequency somehow. I don't know how that works, but I had the fan on to enable me to hear his voice. But yeah, then he was talking to me about how there is no day and there is no night in this higher dimension. Day and night are constructs. So you can make daytime, you can make nighttime with the power of your mind. But then after our discourse, after our communication, he was like, I have somebody here who wants to talk to you. And he's like, your mother. And I'm like, my mother wants to talk to me? And I heard her voice, and it was faint, but I heard her. And she was like, this is your mother? She's like, I've been watching you since you were, because my mother actually passed when I was 5. So she told me, she's like, I've been watching you since you were like a little boy. I've watched you growing up. I'm so proud of you. What else did she say? So I asked her some questions. I was like, so what do you do? What do you do on the new earth? What is it like? And she told me that she has a house. She told me that she does all sorts of things. She likes to paint. She likes to play music. I was like, so what are you wearing? I said, what do you have on right now? She's like, I'm wearing a dark blue dress with a bow. And I'm like, so do you have like a mate there? And she does have a mate. She did find somebody else in the higher dimensions. So she told me that. She was talking to me about what else? Yeah, she was like, you can basically, reality is just so fluid. You can do anything you want to do and be anything that you want to be. And the funny thing is, the next day, after she told me about how she was wearing that blue dress, on TV, I had a couple of like, I don't know what Scott called it a poke, but like I saw a lady wearing a blue dress as described by my mom. I'm like, so what is the coincidences of that? You know what I mean? Like, how could that would have never happened. So that was definitely some type of an occurrence, or she was like letting me know, yes, I was actually really, really talking to you. So she was also telling me about how the new earth, the higher dimensional earth, is more real than this earth that we're in could ever be. It's reality that you create with your mind is more real than this in every way, shape, and form. So I thought that was pretty uplifting.
Oh, that was a beautiful story. And did you have something? I thought you were ready.
Oh, I was saying I've recently had visions of Virgin Mary, and she comes in a blue and white. And I just wanted to share that with you, David. So there's another sync for you.
That's amazing. Yeah, and that represents, yeah, she always appears in the blue and white colors. But this is what it says in Revelation. It says, "And I saw a new heaven and a new earth. The first heaven and the first earth are passed away," which is the earth that we're in. "And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, made ready as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of the..." My cat, sorry, my cat's acting up. "And I heard a great voice out of the throne saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he shall dwell with them, and they shall be his peoples, and God himself shall be with them. And and he will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more, neither shall mourning nor crying nor pain be any more. The former things are passed away. And he that sitteth on the throne said, Behold, I am making all things new and right, for these words are faithful and true." So this was part of the original Revelation that was written. Well, Johnny Enoch, I'm a huge fan of Johnny Enoch, and he's actually a close friend of mine that I met through Brett. Johnny Enoch told me that the book of Revelation was actually not written by one individual. It was written by a group of people on the island of Patmos. I'll have to get some more information from about that from him. But yeah, that was that just reminded me when I had that exchange with my mom about how similar what she was saying was actually from the book of Revelation. I'm like, wow, this stuff is really true,
Yeah, man, biblical times are upon us. I think we can see that. And, I think it's incredible, mate. And what an amazing experience to have that connection with your mum and to know that she's now, she's watching you, she's protecting you. She's radiating through these blue colors, which represent the water, the divine feminine. I think that's beautiful, man. And I think that's probably not an easy story to share. So I just would like to say thank you for sharing that, David.
Yep. And I feel in my heart chakra too that was a real experience. That's something that doesn't happen every day.
Yeah, that was a beautiful story. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. A lot of people are afraid to share their experiences and so forth. And speaking of which, we know that hey, Brett, Armani had an experience, and we thought that she might want to talk about her experience.
Well, I'll pass you on to my daughter. Here you go.
Oh, hello. I've only had like 2 experiences. It was when we lived in Auntie Julie's house, and I got to visit there, but before anyone else. And she was downstairs, and I was upstairs. And the door that was going to be my room, it opened by itself, and I got a really uneasy feeling. I felt really scared. And then on my first night I ever stayed there in that exact room, the light turned on by itself. I was just laying in bed and the light turned on, and I ran downstairs to Dad, and I was only like 12 at the time. And I said, Dad, I'm not going up in my room anymore. There's someone turned the light on. There's a ghost in my room. And it took me a year and a half to actually be able to feel comfortable in that room, because I felt so uneasy in that room. I was so uncomfortable, and I can't explain it, but I felt like there was someone there. and it was petrifying. I was every night I would try and go to sleep. I would get really uncomfortable and I just wouldn't be able to sleep. It was horrible. But yeah, that was the only experience I've had. But yeah.
Oh, there we go.
That was awesome. Thank you
Thanks
so
for
much for
sharing,
sharing, Amani.
Right, Dad.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks for sharing, Amani. See, it's all these stories that are being told by everybody, and it starts to show more people that this is a reality. Things do happen. I myself have had several things happening. Jackie and I had lived in a duplex for a while back when we were younger, and we would hear things in the bathroom, like a shampoo bottle being knocked over, not like, oh, it just fell over a little bit. No, you could hear it like somebody actually might have thrown like a shampoo bottle down. And so, of course, I go running back there and there's no shampoo bottles knocked over. Nothing's out of place. We would find pennies lined up down our hallway. And we'd be like, did you do that? And Jackie'd be like, no, did you do that? And I was like, no, why would I line up pennies down the hallway? You'd find pennies in the stack of like 3. And then I came home from work one day, and next thing you know, I hear this guitar playing. So our girls, we had this electric kind of guitar that only made music when you played the keys. And I heard it going off like it was playing music. It was playing a song. And so I called Jackie at work and I was like, hey, where did the girls leave that? Because that damn guitar is just playing music and it won't stop. And she goes, the guitar doesn't play music. I was all, yeah, it does. It's playing like a song. And she's like, no, you have to actually push the buttons. I was like, well, where is it? And so I was searching all over the girls' room. I was like, I cannot find this damn guitar. And then I just happened to hear it start to play a couple of keys. And I was like, where was that? And so I looked under the bed and it was underneath their bed. And so it was just like, one of those things that happen paranormal that is just like, how do you explain something like that? How do you explain pennies being left? And then, we've had other experiences. I've actually caught voices on an EVP recorder.
Hang on, Scotty, Money wants to add something to the penny thing.
Yeah,
Oh, you bet. Yeah, please. Jump in.
When you find random pennies, it reminds me of I think it's like a message from the guardian angels, because they send it in different ways. Like they can send feathers. Like my auntie, she passed away 6 years ago, and I see feathers everywhere. So when I see a feather and it comes in front of me just randomly, I take it as a sign. And I've also found feathers inside my house. So I always say to give us a sign. And because obviously it's my mum and her sister and my auntie, they had like a thing. And my mum would ask, pray to mum to find some money. And then my mum would end up finding some money, like little pennies, like you said. And when she would get like a lottery ticket, she would be like, please, Auntie Sarah, and then she would win maybe a £5, and she would be like, Auntie Sarah's helping me. So yeah, when you said talking about the penny thing, it just reminded me, I think it's like sending it from guardian angels, I think.
Yeah, that's great.
Or it could be a trickster playing tricks on you. If I was a ghost, Scotty, I'd be leaving stuff all over the place, mate. I'll tell you, I'd be there playing tricks on you, having some fun.
Yeah, Native American tribes talk about the tricksters, and that sometimes that they're tricksters. You can talk to your ancestors. You can actually talk to spirit guides, and that's why sometimes, with the paranormal events and so forth, maybe. Like Armani's talking about, maybe your guardian angel, maybe angels, maybe there's some piece of jewelry or some piece of, a figurine that you're just all of a sudden super drawn to. And I mean, it's maybe you let's say a giraffe figurine. You have this giraffe figurine, all of a sudden, you like giraffes somewhat, but for some reason you have to buy that giraffe. And then later to find out that it was maybe your grandmother's favorite animal. And so little keys, and it's something that has been sent to you to remind you of them. So, but yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, totally. I totally believe in that. And then Jackie had another question she wanted to throw out.
I was just thinking, so what is a poltergeist in all of this? Isn't that about our emotions and stuff? So how do our emotions play in the paranormal activity? What do you think?
Yeah, Armani's raising her hand. Why don't we throw Armani in here real quick? She wanted to answer that one.
Right, I think a poltergeist is basically like moving objects, but it can be some different type of poltergeist, like you can throw objects or like levitate objects. That's what I think poltergeist is. So I'm trying to think right now because as soon as I got on the camera, I got a bit nervous. But yeah, poltergeist. I think it can happen in different ways. Like I think poltergeist is also when you can visibly hear voices as well with your ears, and sound and movement as well. But yeah, that's what I've got to say.
And I would say maybe sometimes it's telekinesis. How do you say that?
Telekinesis.
Telekinesis.
It's where you basically,
Yeah, but what I'm saying is sometimes people don't realize that sometimes when people are getting stressed or angry in a state and they're actually quite powerful beings, they can go like that and the power can go out or objects can fall out. And I agree with Amani. I imagine there's probably not one answer to any of these questions. It's a fractal universe, as everyone knows I like to say, then different potentials. But sometimes it could be that someone who's worked themselves up and stressed or even feeling a mass amount of love could give off some energy that could cause it themselves. Or it could be a certain area. It could be these beings trying to get you to communicate. This could be how they're communicating.
Attention, yeah, because obviously if you go to a place that is very highly active with paranormal, they'll basically throw objects to give you a sign, or they will even knock on the wall because you say knock 3 times,
or they want to be left alone.
And they can also imitate, because you can say, imagine if I was talking to a ghost and I said, I'm going to knock 3 times, can you do it back? And then some of them actually were able to respond to that. And that's very intelligent spirits, especially obviously when they're using digital recorders and EVPs like what you've got. They're highly intelligent when they're able to actually answer what question you're answering. And that's really highly intelligent, because I've seen on most videos, like Ghost Adventures, like when they're getting full responses back, and that's really highly intelligent in my opinion.
Higher consciousness.
Yeah, basically the same thing. It's just because they've got loads of energy as well, because obviously and manifestation and all that, like they need like loads of energy to be able to communicate. And yeah, so like with the Ovulus, I don't know if you know, do you know what the Ovulus is, Scotty?
Yes, Ovulus, yeah.
So obviously they need like magnetic field basically, so they need to use all that energy. Like it's basically like a dictionary, but it's like on word, and they manipulate the device with energy, and they pick out words to communicate. I think they're very powerful.
Certainly becoming a science to it, you know. So anyone else want to add on that?
Yeah,
I was just gonna.
Yeah, go ahead.
I
David.
was gonna add that a poltergeist could also very well be like a negative reptilian entity as well. The reptilians have abilities to manifest in physical form as well as be in the lower 4th dimension. So they are responsible for a lot of negative paranormal things that happen. I really don't. I guess what I'm confused about, though, is I think I've talked about this with you before, Brett, is like when you say reptilian, a reptilian is a being that exists in 3rd density. When you go into lower density, that's not really, I don't understand how it's a reptilian still, because it seems at that point it would be a spirit entity. You know what I mean? And David Icke is actually the one who talks a lot about the reptilians and about how, well, they exist in the lower 4th dimension. But a reptilian is, that's the same terminology of a mammalian. A mammalian is humans, A human isn't really a human anymore when you're in a spirit form. You're a spirit. So how does that? I never have really understood that. Do you have any insights on that?
It's probably like a frequency thing in a resonant field. So and a lot of it's to do with your mental belief. So I've had an experience as a human being. So chances are when I pass on, even if I've had past lives of many different fractal forms of beings, when I die from this experience, if I don't ascend and I die and I go into the spirit realm, I will see myself as this. And I imagine it works the same for reptilians in material biological existence. Like you're saying, once you get up to the higher points, then in a way you can choose and ascend your form. You can ascend with the body. And that's what I think with Jesus, the resurrection was. I think Jesus come back and he ascended with the body. The body went with him. You know, he came back into the body and he ascended into higher realm with the body. So I would say it's probably a similar thing like that. If a reptilian is a biological being, a species of reptilian, and it dies as a reptilian, then its spiritual form, because of your mental gravitational field and that's what you will be.
Oh,
you know?
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I get that. I get that.
But it may have been that I may have been a reptilian in another life. But just because I was in that life and now I'm resonating with this resonated field, when I die and move from body to spirit, and you don't ascend, then I would take on the spirit form of what I once was, you know?
Yeah, and
that's what I feel.
I've talked about that also with other people about, so what if you took like the consciousness of a human and, you know, because they got the consciousness transference technology, you took your consciousness and put it like in the consciousness of a cat. I don't think that would work because you wouldn't, your consciousness wouldn't be able to interface with the body of the cat because your spirit is in a human form. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Though I do think like the Avatar, when they sold the Avatar, when they imprinted into his body with the genetic matching patterns is possible. But to actually take a consciousness and transform it into the consciousness of a cat, I'm not sure that would work. I wouldn't say it's impossible. But then again, you've got the shape-shifting part, you know?
Yeah.
Like higher beings can change form just by changing their frequency. They can change form. But yeah, I know exactly. I understand exactly what you mean, and that's a great question. Though I do believe if we were to make biological avatars to go on other planets, say, in a sense of a non-contact way to blend in, that as long as there was some kind of DNA match, then the consciousness could go into it.
Yeah,
but a cat would be a very hard thing to do. But then just because it's impossible from our technology, it doesn't mean it could be possible. But I get your train of thought 100%.
Yeah, maybe the soul is in layers. Like, so maybe like I have I have a spiritual body, but there's even another layer inside of that, which is the essence of that, you know, because everything is made in layers. So we have our physical body, and then we have, you know, we have the sacred Trinity, the mind, body, and spirit, you know. So there could be layers to our actual spirit. We may have say that we were to pass on, we would still look like ourselves in spirit form, but even inside of that, we have our soul, which is our essence that comes from from source or from the I am presence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Totally,
I totally agree with that. And then, of course, you've also got from the soul perspective on this higher being, a form projecting consciousness. And it doesn't mean my soul is just projecting my consciousness just into this character of Brett. I could be being projected into different densities, realms, dimensions right now, simultaneously. You know, I could be a cat right now on another planet. You know, that's how interfrequential it is, and how it's infinite. You know, the infinite potential of a soul. And when a soul gains enough soul experience, I imagine that it would make, in an infinite field, it would make a lot of sense, instead of doing it one life at a time, that a soul would project, you know. And Tim Taxi's always, when I was chatting with Tim in Germany, and he was telling us that it's quite probable that some people, the soul is projecting, and there's like, say, alien beings watching Earth from the outside. It could be watching ourselves outside. And that's how the soul can project into these, like you say, into these different layers of reality. Mm-hmm. It's, you know, it's mind blowing when you really, you know, when you get into this stuff. So yeah, no, totally understand, brother. Sorry, Scott, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no. I was going to say, I was going to go back to, we were talking about poltergeist, and then we had mentioned, you know, poltergeist could be, you know, reptilian or whatever, but that goes to the same, because Joshua, what's up, Joshua, brother? Wanted to say hearts up, Joshua. And but I wanted to go back to that because you had mentioned reptilians being maybe the demonic poltergeist kind of entity or whatever. Well, that goes along with saying, we've talked about that and kind of covered that with other podcasts that we've talked about, is that there's good and bad in everything, because you're going to have your good ones, you're going to have your bad ones. But as far as, you know, like the paranormal side that way, poltergeists are not good. It's a demonic entity. It's something even that you could have created. Like Brett said, you get this rage, and this person is just full of this rage and negativity. And this house feeds on it because homes can, you know, there's wood, it soaks up that energy, and that energy stays in that house. So somebody might have, you might create a poltergeist. There might be, you know, a demonic, something wrong with the land. You might have moved on to a Native American burial ground, and all of a sudden this demonic, you know, entity is there poltergeisting. So that's moving things, throwing things, like Armani had talked about. You know, a lot of things go along with, you know, a poltergeist. It's, you know, not something good. And then you're going to have, you know, residuals. Residual is just on that timeline. You're going to be able to pick up stuff. You're going to hear noises like Armani talked about too. You're going to hear about knockings. You're going to hear about all different things. You're going to hear, you know, you might hear a whistle. But then when you ask a direct question and you get a response, now you're talking about there's something there. And it's obviously in our dimension, in our frequency, because it can hear us and is responding to us. So that means that we are somehow have a wavelength to that dimension as well. Because if we can hear them, they can hear us. That's pretty crazy, because sometimes, like in Ghost Adventures or Project Fear, great shows, you can hear these things talking. I mean, it's not even on an EVP recorder. You can actually hear it. And you might sometimes hear somebody cry. I mean, you might hear somebody talking, and you catch it with your own ears, not even a recording device, not anything else. It's just there, and it's responding to them sometimes. They'll ask a question, what is your name? And next thing you know, you get Charlie. And it's like, holy crap, somebody actually heard me. You know, something is physically here. So I just wanted to jump on to that part too before we left that. And I think Jackie had another question for us.
How do you guys feel about haunted objects?
How do you guys feel about haunted objects? Anyone?
Like the Annabelle doll?
Yep. And haunted objects. I know Armani's interested in. Zach Baggins has a museum full of haunted artifacts from way back. I mean, everything. It's awesome.
I definitely think. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. Yeah, I was saying, anybody want to talk about it? Go right ahead.
I definitely think that beings can possess an object. It's definitely possible. You have to remember that. So, like, when you get into like the ghostly realm, because reality is made in these, you know, these layers that we talked about, and haunted objects could very well be possessed by spirits that haven't really passed on. I personally don't think, like, when you hear like, you know, these stories about like babies crying in hallways and haunted hotels, I don't think it's the actual spirit of the baby or the actual spirit or the soul. I don't think that God would allow that. I think that it is what's called a there's a book that I read called
residual.
The Urantia book. Huh?
Yeah, that definitely falls into a residual. That's
right.
Just that energy, that baby crying or whatever. And the other thing is, they talk about in the paranormal field that could be a demonic entity, or that could be something bad tricking you, another trickster. Native Americans talk about those tricksters. There's a lot of tricksters. And I mean, this goes back to way, you know, like my tribes had believed in these tricksters that could play tricks on you. So a baby crying, I caught one on my recorder, and I was like, I don't want to catch that again. But to hear a baby crying, yeah, you don't know what you're messing with, because like you said, it's not going to be an actual baby. God wouldn't allow a baby to do that. He's going to take it into the light right away. It's all accepting. There's no which way am I going, because that's a human emotion. Because that's right. You're going to have to leave your stuff behind. Oh, I'm so connected. You know, I love this piece of furniture. Or, you know, it was forever since I bought this piece of furniture, and I don't want to leave it. That's mine. Some people with a car, with, you know, there's a house. There's so many things that you get drawn to and connected to on this earth that stop you from wanting to go. But you can't take anything with you. You know, you take your soul with you. That's about it. These vessels, we got vessels, and you know, you got to be thankful and happy for your vessel every day, because one day we will ascend, and we'll all meet each other up there too and have fun.
Mm-hmm. I think Armani wants to say something. Did you want to say something, Armani? You just looked really excited, like you want to talk.
Yeah, you were absolutely right about that, Scotty, about like like obviously when you heard the children crying, obviously that is a sign of the demons, of the trickster ghost, because they like to manipulate being into a child. Because I think there was a haunted house in America, the Sally house, and there is a spirit there, and her name is Sally, but people don't think she's a natural girl. They think that she's something like demonic. And most tricksters, they don't really tell you like mostly anything, because they usually they don't say if they're a child or not. They'll just say, oh, I'm a girl, and when people ask like, are you a demon, they won't answer that. They'll completely ignore it. So I don't yeah, but with the demon stuff, yeah, that's 100% right with the little kids, because I don't think little kids would be in such a dark place. And also with like the haunted objects as well, with them, they've got powerful energy in it, because the object might have been close to someone that has experienced like something bad. Like in Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum, like there's negative energy, and especially also with the Annabelle doll as well. With all the, I think negative energy in the Annabelle doll, something must have happened with that doll. And obviously in Zach,
do you think sometimes objects find us?
Yeah, I think objects find us.
My staff found me.
I think objects find us also, yeah. But yeah, I would love to go to Zach's Haunted Museum, because there's going to be different energies there with different objects. And there's a chair in Zach Bagan's museum that's locked up, and it's something to do with a demon or something. It's got very powerful energies, but you can also get an attachment as well. Yeah. So you have to obviously make sure that you're protected and stuff, because obviously some will actually follow you home.
And of course, there's Harry Potter and the Horcrux.
Yeah, my advice is white sage.
And he installed it into objects.
Yeah,
you know, to keep him into the physical realm, you know, which I know is a film, but there's often a lot of truths in the films, as we know.
Yeah, there's another thing. There's this haunted doll. It's in America. I think I might have to find it, but it's that white doll that's in the cage, and it curses you. So like if you take a photo with it, I'll have to get a photo.
It wouldn't dare mess with the brat, I tell you that.
Yeah, even Hawaii talks about it, like, you know, don't take things from Hawaii, don't take artifacts like the rocks and stuff. So many people return those because the energy doesn't allow you to take them. So many people have said bad things happened to them from taking those rocks or anything from the volcanic, you know, explosions, and taking them from Hawaii. People have had bad experiences and actually sent them back. So I think definitely,
unless they're gifted to you, if they're gifted to you by a certain, if you're there and it gets gifted, then it's okay. But if you take without permission, or
yeah, that's great. But the Conjuring House, because at the Conjuring House,
you must leave an offering.
Yeah, there was people that actually took some stones from the Conjuring House from the woods, and then they brought it back literally straight away, and they've apologized. And obviously, there's these sacred places that obviously are very negative, but also in Native American, they bring an offering of this peace for them. And I absolutely love Native American.
Well, that's what you do. When you go to these areas, you ask permission to enter. You bring gifts. You know, you honor the area. Yeah. You know, you don't walk in there, start taking things, spitting on the floor. You know, you've got to show some respect and love and honor, and you will receive that back. You know? So yeah, carry on, guys.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, we always leave things. You always want to leave something in respect, or even giving that thanks and telling them how special this rock is, and you feel so connected to it, and give the thanks that you're going to be taking it with you. And just the offering, even, you know, like a lot of people saying, you know, you have to leave me an offering. Well, no, sometimes it's that energy exchange. You're exchanging that energy, something for something. I'm giving you thanks, and I am showing you how much I appreciate this. And so many people just, you know, they end up taking things and giving nothing. You know, oh, I want this out of more of a greed than out of a respect for the land. Oh, I want this, you know, because, you know, it's pretty, but I just want to show it off to all my friends. And then you have other people that are like, oh man, this is beautiful, this is such a pretty thing, I want to share it with everybody and give that, you know, I feel the energy to it. So yeah, like Jackie was saying, you know, are there energies, and, you know, things can be haunted or possessed or whatever? Yes, most definitely.
I have a question.
Jackie had another question, guys.
Kind of coming from Joshua too. So what's your perspective? Are reptilians extraterrestrials or aliens? paranormal, supernatural, or something more natural, cryptid, unexplained phenomena? What's your thoughts?
Yes, all of that. It's fractal, you know. Are human beings just a biological species? No, we're far more than that, and it's a fractal universe. I mean, there are negative reptilians, but we can certainly, on this lifetime on Earth, I can certainly confirm that there are negative humans. No doubt about that. Of course, a lot of it's to do with behavior patterns, especially when you get into biological life. There's certain behavior patterns. A behavior pattern of a reptilian is not the same as an ape species. You know, a reptilian isn't a lizard; it's a higher version of a lizard. I'm not a monkey; I'm a higher version of a monkey, and that comes with behavior patterns. An example of that, of course, is group conformity, in that we are very, very tribal. You know, we're here in groups, we're talking, we're discussing. Whether I would imagine most reptilians with their behavior patterns are more, not so much care. You know, a lot of people care what someone thinks about me, what they're saying, what everyone else is doing. You know, COVID, a prime example of that. They used our behavior patterns against us to create group conformity. Where a reptilian here would have gone, couldn't care less what that one's doing, what that one says. I'm looking out for number one. So, but I would say, to answer Joshua's question, it's you know, yes, and yes. You know, it's a fractal universe. You want to get back to the, you know, to the single point. It all comes from a single source, a single point, a single creator. You know, it's just fractal often, these experiences. And I think at some point, even the most loving beings have to accept that some part of them is dark, because it all came from creator, you know. So, yeah, I would say all of the above. I say there certainly is biological extraterrestrial species that are reptilian. They will be in the higher realms. They will be all different aspects, all different versions with them, all existing simultaneously. It's being observed from different points, which we call time. So I would say yes, and yes. I don't know if anyone else wants to jump on that.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, David, would you chime in on that one as well?
I was just going to say about the dragon energy and about how dragons are sacred beings, and they're not. So just because it's a reptilian doesn't necessarily make it evil or malevolent. Reptilians, they have the ability. I think the more evolved ones have the ability to love. So yeah, so dragons are mythical creatures. I think that they're, you know, they exist. They're mythical, quote unquote, but they do exist in the higher dimensions. They guard crystals, just like unicorns are existing in the higher dimensions, just like griffins, just like phoenixes, just like all these amazing supernatural beings. But yeah, it's just when you say reptilian, we're talking specifically about Dracos. The Dracos are the ones who have infiltrated humanity and have caused all this chaos for the past 15,000 years. There are other beings that are neutral, reptilian beings, a lot of them that live on the inner earth. So I think it's where I think some of them are actual physical in this dimension. They all resonate on different frequencies. And then you have, like what Brett was talking about, other ones that exist on in higher dimensions or lower dimensions. It's just the universe is the universe that we exist in is far beyond anything that anybody could ever imagine. You know, it's not black and white. There's different levels and there's different layers to the universe. You know, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome,
I mean,
guys.
It's like the universe I look on it is this simple. It's anything that all of us, every being can imagine is happening. Everything, and everything we can't imagine. That's just how mind-blowing it is. And it makes me smile to say that, because it's exciting. There's always something new to experience. You know, and then you can go back to your soul level, and then I could go and maybe have a few cycles as a reptilian. You know, maybe I already have. Who knows at soul level? I mean, I totally agree with what David said there, 100%. I agree. And I certainly wouldn't say they're all negative. And of course, negative can be seen as a perspective, you know, from then. And of course, there's agendas. There's lots of different agendas in the universe. Certain agendas might group together. But quite often beings, and even singular beings, we can all have our own agendas, right? Our own way of perceiving, our own way of seeing, our own way of getting through reality, and our own wants and needs. And you know, it's just a beautiful universe. I just cannot wait for it to open up. So, you know, I know many of us have had certain experiences, but I'm certainly ready for that next level of experience, man. I mean, some kind of mass event, you know, where they come and we can meet and greet, and it gets me excited.
They're saying 2027 is going to be a big year, because
2025 has always been the year for me, but I think that's with the awareness expansion.
Yes.
And by 2027, by the end of 2027, it hasn't happened, I'm going to start getting worried. I'm going to start creating devices to communicate myself, man. Maybe that's what we need to do. And just come for a party. Come and pick me up and take me to California. Come and get David and party at Scotty's. Cook out on.
Let me tell you, I would have loved, so I didn't make the Full Disclosure Now conference. I couldn't afford it. But if we all are able to meet for some big event like that someday soon, that would be amazing. I so wanted to go. I just
2026 Portal to Ascension, David. You should come over. There'll be a lot of beautiful beings in the heart chakra, in my country, beautiful country of the UK, in England, in Glastonbury, in the land of Avalon. And there's going to be a conference. Man, that's another year away. You should come over and visit. It'd be great.
I probably can do that. I'm just going to have to give up my because I usually go to Florida every year, but I would much rather go on an adventure to UK to see you guys than Florida. So I'll try to aim for that goal. Definitely, for sure. I'd love to come, and when I see you, I'm going to give you the biggest hug ever, Brett.
That's awesome, guys. Yeah, we would love for the day to be able to come out there, and that would be an awesome event to be able to go to. So we're going to try to manifest that for the future, coming out and visiting you guys. That'd be so much fun. You can show us all around. We can buy some beer. Don't forget the beer.
Mate, they've got the most wonderful pub, the George and Pilgrim. Hundreds and hundreds of years old. Knights Templar energy all over the place. And I explain Avalon Glastonbury these days. There's Guy Donnelly in the 60s. You've got wizards walking around. There's magical shops. You've got the tour. You've got all these sacred sites. You've got Stonehenge not far. You've got Merlin's Cave. You've got the Abbey of Glastonbury, which has 7 springs underneath it. You've got the white man. There's so much to explore there. And it's the heart energy center, heart chakra of this beautiful planet. And what a place for us all to meet. And I went there last year. I met Oliver, a dear friend who was on the podcast last episode. And of course, brother Joshua. We met at the tour. We call it Ground Zero. That's where we met in one of the most spiritual energy centers on this point. And for us all to be there, it would be a dream come true for me. And you'll all be getting big Brett hugs, that's for sure.
Yeah, that'd be the day. Hopefully we can manifest that and all be all together one day and be able to give that hug finally, right? And then I see that we're a little over an hour now, and figured maybe we had one more question here coming towards you, David. How do you guys feel? We kind of covered the basis of paranormal and the cube, so supernatural.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, just one last question for you, David. How has your recent experience expanded your reality?
My recent experience with
your mom and the guardian angel.
Oh, it's definitely expounded my reality because it's actually given me a lot of peace and comfort, because I've always known my mom was out there. Because she's come to me in dreams before, but this was the first time where I was actually able to have a direct exchange of communication with her. And it's really, I have more faith. I definitely have more faith that she is out there and she's watching over me, and my guardian angel is watching over me, and it makes me feel loved. It makes me feel special and accepted. So, yeah, it definitely makes me feel like I'm actually valued, and it just that day when I actually am going to get to see her one day, and we were talking about that. I'm like, I'm going to just give you the biggest hug, and I think that she did run by me though, that she assumes different forms, but when I do see her finally, she'll appear to me as my mother, because that was the form that I was familiar with when she had her earthly life. But yeah, it has really, that experience did really change my mindset for sure.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's
Beautiful.
awesome. That was beautiful.
I did have, I don't mean to interrupt, but I did have, so there was another supernatural. I've talked about this before. This was not really a positive one, but I had the supernatural experience probably about maybe 13, 14 years ago, where I was exiting my apartment. So, okay, so there's actually two of them. So there was one time where I was in a meditative state, and it was like maybe back in 2011, and it was like maybe around 12:30, 1 o'clock. And for some reason, I don't know why, but I wanted to look out the door, out my peephole. And I looked out and I saw this lady standing there, and it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, maybe like 1:30 almost. And she has, so do you know like how back in the 70s women wore like those scarves, those pirate scarves around their heads, kind of like Cinderella? So my mom used to wear those, like when she used to like lounge around the house. So this lady had on a scarf like that. And then I can't remember the specific color of the shirt. I think it was like maybe a pink and blue shirt, kind of like with checkered looking. And so I saw the back of her, and then I saw it was across the hallway from the resident manager, right? So on this door, on the resident manager's door, was the hours of when the rental office is open to pay your rent. So this sign was bolted onto the door. I'm talking bolted. And it wasn't like a paper sign you could just move. This sign was bolted. I saw this lady across. I'm looking through my peephole. This lady is just there for whatever reason. She takes the sign off. She picks it up and then moves it down to the bottom of the door and walks off. And I'm like, I don't, it took a few minutes for me to register what that was. And then I went back, and then I went back to the door, and I opened the door, and I looked down the hallway, and she was gone. But the sign was back where it was. So I think that was my mom. I think that she had come back, and either she was giving me some type of an optical illusion through the peephole, or she was actually, she had manifested and materialized. It fit her description because she was dressed the same and she had the same hair color. So I think that was her. She actually, now that I think of it, she did validate for me that was her. And when I had that telepathic exchange with her a month ago. So she was basically telling me that the sign represented the cube. And she was telling me, I'm coming down, I'm taking my cube and I'm moving down to give you to communicate with you. That's what it was. And she couldn't reveal all that to me right when that happened, because I would have been too scared. So that was, yeah, that was what that was. There was another supernatural experience I had where I was walking down the street, and I've talked about this one before. This man screams my name. He's like, David Campbell. And then I look back, and it's just like this short, like light-skinned black guy with a beard, and he's dressed, he's got like a coat on and a hat, and he's talking into some device. I don't know what, like it's kind of vague. It happened so long ago, but he's talking into some device, and I look back, and I'm like, who the heck is calling my name? And he says, David Campbell again. And then he's walking up to me, and I've never seen this man from Adam. I have no idea. I've never seen him in my life. And I'm petrified at this point, because I don't know who this guy is. I've never seen him before. I don't know how he knows me. And he's walking down the street, right? And it's like he can't even see me. He's like talking into this device, saying my name, David Campbell, David Campbell, David Campbell. I'm like, who the heck is this guy, and what is he saying my name for? So I bolt, like I go the other way, and I go back home. And yeah, I told this to many people. I actually told this story to David Adair when I was in Vegas, And he was like, I don't know who that was, but one thing's for sure, you were being tracked. And I'm like, well, it could have been a spirit because I was in that meditative state. Maybe it was a spirit that materialized in front of me. I don't know. It could have been either a spirit. It could have been a time traveler. It could have been somebody in the covert alien space program. I don't know. I will never know, but that was a supernatural experience that I had.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks for sharing those. Yeah, you find so many stories out there, and it's so cool to finally hear, you sharing your stories, and it's great for you to get it out there and have people listen to your stories as well. So yeah, that was great. Thanks for sharing those with us.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful ramble, another great ramble. I think it's about time to wrap up, unless you guys have anything you guys wanted to add.
Well, I would just like to add thank you, David Campbell, Amani, Ramblers, for joining us. Everyone who's watched us live and has, stayed tuned for our ramblings. I appreciate that. So much love to everyone. Let's just keep pushing ascension, disclosure, this new world forward, And if you've enjoyed the podcast, if you wouldn't mind putting a like on, or what would really help us out, and we would hugely actually appreciate it, and it's totally free, no charging. You just subscribe to the channel, because that helps build the channel, and that helps us to allow to keep doing these podcasts, which we certainly love doing, and I hope you guys do. So I just want to say a massive thank you to David, Jackie, Scotty, Amani, and myself. And Ramblers, keep rambling, and I'm going to nick Jackie's line. Keep shining.
Keep shining.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you to David, and thank you, Armani, for sharing your guys' stories with us. That was a lot of fun. Love talking about the Cube Matrix. Love talking about the supernatural and the paranormal with you guys. And yeah, it's been another wonderful ramble. And hearts up, everybody. Sending much love to everybody. And take care. And we'll talk to you guys.
Thank you for I just want to add, thank you for having me. This platform is a lot better than Facebook, because we can actually switch and show pictures and stuff. So there's other stuff that I did want to talk about, but I'm hoping we can talk about in another ramble. Because there's
my friend. There's always
where
room
we
for
always
part
end.
two.
Yeah, that's where we always end here, and we always ask you back, and then we'll give the people something to wait around for to see what we're going to talk about next. We'll be posting what we'll talk about next. When we'll brainstorm and we'll come up with what we want to talk about next. So yeah, you're definitely going to have to come back on.
Okay, that sounds good. I enjoyed being here, and you guys are my brothers. I love you guys, and I'm just so fortunate to be a part of this community and this movement. It just means the world to me, and I can't wait to meet you guys in person one day.
Most definitely. We all look forward to meeting each other, and yeah, we thank you. And then yeah, how do people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you too, David?
Oh, just on Cosmic Community. You just DM me. My email, you can, of course, my email is just dcampbell6003@gmail.com. If you have any questions about, I know a lot of information about the Golden Cube and about Revelation and the esoteric stuff behind it. Johnny Enoch actually answers a lot of my questions, so he's a big resource for me. But yeah, just anything you want to post about it, just feel free to post in Cosmic Community or in Ramblers. We're all part of the same community. So
right on. Take care, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and hopefully you watch this. And like Brent said, give us a like and a share. Talk to y'all later.
Keep shining.
Keep shining.
bye-bye. Love you guys.
Shining. Keep shining, baby.